The confession. Bai Lu reveals why she left the spotlight suddenly. If you think you know Bai Lu, think again. Stay with Kdrama Drops because what she is about to reveal changes everything you thought you knew about her career, and the people around her. This is a story of secrets, betrayal, and a heartbreak so intense that it pushed one of the brightest stars in the industry into sudden isolation. And for the first time ever, the truth is coming to light. Bai Lu had always been the picture of grace and poise. Cameras loved her, fans adored her, and the world believed she had everything. But behind the glimmering lights and red carpets, there was a storm that no one could see. For months, whispers had circulated in hushed tones about her abrupt disappearance from the public eye. Some said she had grown tired of fame. Others speculated she was hiding from a scandal. But the real story, the truth, had remained locked behind a door only Bai Lu could open. The confession came quietly, almost hesitantly, in a private interview that she had agreed to for the first time in years. Her hands trembled slightly as she recalled the moments leading up to her decision. "I had to leave," she whispered, eyes glistening, her voice barely holding back the flood of emotion. "I had no choice." What she revealed next stunned everyone listening. A betrayal had struck at the very core of her life, from people she had trusted the most. It wasn't just professional sabotage or rumors spread by outsiders. This was a betrayal that came from within, from those she considered close allies, individuals she had relied upon for guidance, for protection, for friendship. Their actions had not only threatened her career, but had endangered her sense of self. Bai Lu described sleepless nights filled with anxiety and doubt. She recounted moments where she would wake up in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding, asking herself if she could ever trust anyone again. Each morning brought fresh challenges. Rumors circulated faster than she could respond, and every attempt to clarify the situation seemed to entangle her further in a web she could not escape. Her isolation was not just physical, it was emotional. Bai Lu retreated into her own world, cutting off communication from everyone outside her immediate family. She stopped attending industry events, declined interviews, and vanished from social media. For a time, it seemed as though the world had forgotten her. But inside, she was fighting battles that nobody could see, grappling with feelings of betrayal, disappointment, and an overwhelming sense of injustice. And yet, amid the darkness, there were moments of clarity. She recalled a quiet afternoon in her apartment, sunlight streaming through the windows, when she realized that her silence was her power. She did not need to respond to the gossip. She did not need to justify her choices. For the first time, she understood that retreating was not weakness, but a form of self-preservation, a way to rebuild and regain control over her own life. Bai Lu's story also revealed the subtle manipulations that had driven her to the edge. There were phone calls she could not ignore, messages that hinted at threats, and meetings that left her feeling exposed and vulnerable. Each interaction added another layer of pressure until she felt as though the walls were closing in. The betrayal was not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it was in the small things, the hidden critiques, the quiet exclusion from projects, the subtle undermining of her talent and reputation. Through her confession, it became clear that leaving the spotlight had been an act of courage, not surrender. Bai Lu had chosen to protect her mental health, her dignity, and her inner peace over public approval. She had taken the step that most could not, stepping away from fame to reclaim herself, to heal, and to prepare for a future that she could face on her own terms. And yet, even in her absence, her legacy endured. Fans remained loyal. Messages of support flooded in, and her talent was celebrated quietly behind closed doors. The industry that had once pushed her to the brink now watched as she prepared to return, stronger and wiser, ready to confront the world with her truth fully intact. This confession is more than just an explanation for her disappearance. It is a testament to resilience, to strength in the face of betrayal, and to the courage it takes to walk away when everything seems lost. Bai Lu's story reminds us that sometimes the brightest lights are those that burn quietly, hidden from view, only to reemerge with even greater intensity. The day after Bai Lu's confession, the world seemed to shift in slow motion. Fans and industry insiders alike were buzzing, dissecting every word she had spoken. But for Bai Lu, the aftermath was not applause or headlines, it was silence. A silence she had chosen deliberately, a silence that had shielded her for so long and now, paradoxically, exposed her to scrutiny she could not escape. She sat alone in her apartment, sunlight filtering through sheer curtains, casting long shadows across the floor. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the city outside. She replayed every conversation, every betrayal, every subtle manipulation that had led her to step away. The people she had trusted, the colleagues who smiled in her face while undermining her behind closed doors, the promises that were never kept. All of it had coalesced into a single unavoidable truth. She had to leave to survive, and in leaving, she had claimed her own life back. Yet the isolation was not easy. Each day brought moments of doubt, whispers of regret that threatened to creep in. She missed the lights, the laughter on set, the sense of purpose that came with performing. But she also knew that returning too soon, without the clarity and strength she now possessed, would be a mistake. Her heart ached for the connection she had lost with those who had truly mattered. Yet she understood that those bonds could only be rebuilt slowly, cautiously, and on her own terms. Bai Lu reflected on the moments that had hurt her the most. There were the phone calls she had ignored to protect herself, the emails left unanswered because responding would have meant engaging in a battle she could not afford to fight. There were nights spent pacing, revisiting memories she had tried to bury, wondering if the people she had trusted even cared. Each memory was a thread in a tapestry of disappointment and betrayal, yet in recognizing it, she began to see a path forward, a way to reclaim her voice without fear. As the days turned into weeks, Bai Lu slowly began to rebuild. She returned to her personal projects, writing, reading, reflecting. Each small accomplishment, each quiet victory, strengthened her resolve. She began to understand that leaving the spotlight had been an act of courage, a declaration that her life and well-being mattered more than fame, recognition, or approval. She had chosen herself, and that choice, difficult as it had been, was empowering. Then came the unexpected outreach from those who had doubted her. Messages arrived from colleagues and fans alike, expressing support, curiosity, and a desire to understand. Some were skeptical, some were apologetic, and some were simply grateful to hear her side of the story. Each message was a reminder that while betrayal had been part of her journey, human connection, support, and understanding were still possible. In her most private moments, Bai Lu reflected on what she had learned. Trust was fragile, resilience was necessary, and courage came in many forms. She realized that stepping away had given her perspective she could not have gained otherwise. The experiences she had endured had sharpened her insight, refined her instincts, and strengthened her spirit. She was no longer just the actress who had disappeared. She was a woman who had survived, learned, and grown. As the day of her plan return to the public eye approached, Bai Lu felt a mix of anticipation and serenity. She was ready to face the world again, not as someone hiding, not as someone fearful, but as someone who had reclaimed her narrative. Every glance, every gesture, every word she would now share carried the weight of experience and the strength of her conviction. She knew the cameras, the fans, and the industry would watch closely, but she also knew that nothing could shake the resilience she had forged in her time away. The first step back into the spotlight was both thrilling and nerve-wracking. Lights shone down, microphones captured her voice, and cameras focused on her every movement. But Bai Lu moved with grace, calm, and confidence. She spoke openly about the reasons for her absence, the betrayal she had endured, and the lessons she had learned. Her honesty resonated deeply with those who had followed her journey, creating a connection that was both authentic and profoundly moving. By the end of the day, it was clear that Bai Lu had not only returned, but had emerged stronger than ever. The silence she had maintained for so long had been her shield, but now it was her voice that commanded attention, drawing admiration, empathy, and respect. She had taken control of her story, rewritten the narrative that had once threatened to define her, and in doing so, she had inspired countless others to do the same. This story is more than just the confession of a beloved actress. It is a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of self-preservation, and the courage it takes to face betrayal and emerge stronger. Bai Lu's journey reminds us all that sometimes stepping away is the first step toward reclaiming your life, your dignity, and your future. And this is why you stay with K-Drama Drops. Because we bring you the hidden stories, the emotional confessions, and the heartfelt journeys that the cameras never capture. Subscribe now and turn on notifications because the next revelation could be even closer than you think. And with K-Drama Drops, you will always see the drama, the emotion, and the truth behind the headlines.